or it becomes, you got these wagon wheels hanging between your legs and you're trying to climb up there. I mean, I've done it. Still do it sometimes if I have to. But anyway, again, the point being is that you have the strength and the capacity on your negative, as you saw with Keith. I mean, between his static max at 4, whatever that was, you've got his 1122 on the force pounds on the way back up on the negative. So again, you've got some potential there. Now, what we prefer and most of our clients kind of cling to is what we call a hyper repetition. I think this is something that Arthur Jones kind of aspired to, knowing that if you had a safe way to maximally load the positive followed by a maximal load on the negative, this might be the most efficient way to do it. Safety does come into mind with other systems because, again, what is that load on rep 1 versus rep 3 or 4, however many you're doing? You're going to fatigue. So how do you adapt as you fatigue? Well, again, the system kind of perfectly aligns with that. So what I'm going to have Keith do is kind of, again, what most of us at Efficient Exercise take clients through, what we call hyper repetitions. Again, maximal positive, maximal negative. In this case, as he's pulling down, that's the positive. As it's going back up, it's the negative. You're warmed up and ready? Hold on one sec. We'll go ahead and hit next. Go back to pull down. We're just sticking with one exercise for demonstration purposes. Go ahead and hit begin. And start there. 2, 1, drive. Good, we're going to do 3 all-out reps. Keep pulling. So now his green zone's way up there from that max. 2, 1, okay. Now resist. Keep pulling. Yank those handles off, Keith, right here. Dig it. 3, keep pulling. 2, 1, we'll do a little rest pause here, give you a break. 3, 2, and go again. We'll lay into it. Abs are tight, draw those shoulders down. Good. Continue to pull into it. 2, 1, keep a good grip. I want you to resist it. Stay after it. Good. Keep breathing, keep pulling. Fight it. 3, 2, 1. I want you to rest here. You can see a little fatigue setting in. That's good. He is human. 3, 2, 1, and go. Stay with it. Continue to pull. You're going to tell yourself abs tight. Drive those shoulders down. Good. Keep squeezing it. 2, 1. All right, last negative. All out effort. Keep pulling through the fatigue. Try to put the brakes on that. There you go. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good job. Give him a hand. So again, with the demonstration purposes, and you can hit next if you don't mind there. We just did pull down. You can hit finish. And once we're on the finish, he's all warmed up. He's ready to roll. He wants to do more, I know. But again, we can kind of track, again, this all pull down here. But we can track what we did, total amount of work, which is just a function of time, essentially. And then we have, his previous total works. You can also track maxes if that's, your particular fancy. You can also track just about any data point really that you want to pull out that you find most applicable, most valuable. What we really kind of find is that the total work over set amount of time kind of dictates the intensity. That's what we really look at. And I really think that, people will start to understand it. People will start to grasp it. We're doing our best to, again, try to make these as available as possible. And there's loads of potential with the software. We get a lot of questions about the software too. We had our intent to design it to make it very functional, stable, useful in the real-time environment. But I mean, these days with cloud-based storage, I mean, you can get all this data up there and do a lot of things with it. Again, broadening our reach, knowing what people are doing all across the world, all across the country. So we're in development there to be able to continue to develop that software. But I guess that's really about it. I wanted to open up, again, I opened with us being filters for health and fitness know-how. I want to open up the stage to Skylar, Keith, and myself. We're going to feel like our early versions of EETV here, I think, because we've got one mic and we're going to be all huddled together here. But address anybody. We'll all kind of comment as we go. Let me stand in the middle is what they're saying. Okay.
Yeah, my question was related to this particular piece of equipment.
Yep.
One of the advantages of being able to go to a gym is the fact that you can do most exercises by yourself. So how does that work with this particular piece of equipment of being able to do things on your own?
Yeah, good question. Last year at the unveiling of the Omni, I believe Keith used the wireless self-controlled handles. So all of our machines, and sorry, they're in the back. I didn't break them out right now. But we did the practitioner or trainer controlled remote this time. And that's what we do at Efficient Exercise, or if someone, again, he knows what he's doing, but you get my point. But we have wireless controllers. There's a thumb controller to go on every time you press the right, you've got the positive, you got the negative. So that's how you control it on your own. And just you didn't really ask this, but this thing is pretty versatile. I don't know how many exercises it does exactly. A couple dozen at least. So when you said you can do everything, well, from belt squat to deadlifts to any angle of press, to any angle of pull. Again, when we wrap up, we'll show you some more of that, and everyone can kind of get their hands on it and try some things out. So.
How would you differ this from those air compressed workout machines? The ARCs.
Yeah. Sweet, I got the. So the gym I first worked at that's Kaiser equipment. Okay, that air compressed type stuff. So what that does is through pneumatic resistance, it has this very steep resistance curve that the further out you go, the more resistance you're going to get. That doesn't, when you talk about, Mark was talking earlier about biomechanical tracking, I'll use the lat for instance. The strongest point for your wings here is actually in the middle. But if you were to do a pull down type exercise with the Kaiser, you go past that point, it keeps getting heavier. While the two prime movers, your biceps and your upper back, are getting weaker. And if you actually watched when Keith was working, through about this range, he was strongest. But as he neared the end or closest to his body, that needle started drastically dropping off. So that's the difference, is that it's indiscriminate to how strong you actually are. Whereas this is whatever you're going to pull, whatever you're capable of at any of those points, you can exert. Nothing is hindering you from working as hard as possible, in spite of the fact that you might not be as strong as you are at your strongest position. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It perfectly matches the strength curve perfectly, because it's essentially mirroring back the force that you're putting into the machine, if that makes sense. So I was limited in the pull down here, but the machine matched me. So I'm maxed out here, and I'm maxed out where I should max out, and I'm maxed out here and here and here and all the way up through. That's why 3 repetitions on this, I'm still kind of winded. It taxes you.
And that's why, again, you can dedicate, if you feel that working at a certain percentage of your 1 rep max, which is kind of traditional or not, to me it's not as applicable, but if you feel that that's what you want to do, you still can do that here. Just dictate your zone of what you want to work in. You can also work to a percentage of inroad. Again, it does make, in my opinion, some of these traditional methods of monitoring fatigue a little moot, but you still can work in a particular zone of a 1 rep max, or I'm going to work until I inroad this much. So there's a lot of ways that you can use it.
I guess this is for all of you, but maybe primarily Skylar. Whoever is the biggest biomechanical geek, would it be fair to say that this machine would be and is capable of working almost every muscle in the human body, or everything major, and just about everything in the absolute sense? Is that true?
That's absolutely the case. You got to understand too that there's a function of your body called irradiation. And so that you can test this on yourself, that if you make a fist and all the muscles in your forearms that help to facilitate that, and the bit of muscle here in your thumb, they contract, they go to work. You continue to make a tighter white knuckle fist, eventually your pec gets tight. Eventually you recruit all the way up to with the intent of what you're trying to do, this needs further stabilization. So the bicep and the tricep and some of the extra shunting muscle tissue in the elbow go to work, and then your shoulder supports these, and then this is supported by your chest. And so when you are hitting those max negatives, or max anything, the hyper reps, you get a huge irradiating effect of the entire body contracting to help you facilitate the effort you're demanding.
One follow-up question then, relating back to what I just asked. I understand that now that you say it. However, my original question was more about like movements.
Oh.
A lot of people here aren't familiar with the machine and what it can do. They just saw the pull down.
Sure.
So Mark said a few dozen, but are those few dozen, say 30 plus, are those going to encompass like everything you're going to want to do and need to do to train your entire body?
Yes, they will. And then you can even get into exercises that have a low degree of bang for your buck, but they provide you with a certain amount of psychological novelty. Right? I mean, that's the guys could be progressing on a dip for ages, and it's working the chest and the shoulders and the triceps. And they go, I'm tired of this. I want to try something else. It's not because they aren't progressing. It's because they're bored. So they'll pick something else that doesn't necessarily actually work those tissues in a congruent manner, but it's novelty again, and they're getting excited for the workout. So if you think about also all the movements you do in the gym, they're on very limited planes: frontal, sagittal, transverse, and this will cover all of those planes. So I mean, we've marked a number of exercises, but you can come up with any of the goofy bro science. We're gonna do our tricep extensions under our leg, or whatever they're coming up with to hit the short head of the tricep at the medial epicondyle. Well, you could do that, and at least it's in your own home, so nobody sees you looking like a dummy in the gym.
And we usually program around kind of 3 primary movers or movements and functions of the body, with some type of lower body driving movement, some type of upper body pulling movement, and some type of upper body pressing movement. That just about covers every muscle in the human body when done well. Again, abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. So the way that we program is pretty simplistic. Again, we're not trying to overcomplicate it. We're trying to make it a little simpler with what you need to think about in the gym.